Okay, and we're live. Hi. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Kristina Harmsworth. I'm here with one of my biz baddies. You've heard of biz besties, but this is another level. I have had this raging desire for several years to create almost like an Oprah style platform where I'm interviewing some of the coolest people that I know and bringing education, inspiration, stories, and fun in the afternoon with my friends. And so this is our very third episode ever of the Biz Baddies, and I want to introduce my friend to you. She is someone who, honestly, I wouldn't bring people on this if I didn't A, trust them, B, have not vetted, geez, vetted them. I haven't vetted her yet. Her husband might not like that. But vetted, she's someone who has been a huge just like helper for me in figuring out my own financial stuff. And so without further ado, I would love to bring to you guys episode number 3 of the Biz Baddies with my friend Kristina. Go ahead and tell us your whole title, who you is, where you from.
Well, I appreciate it. First, I have to tell you, thank you for this vision. Thank you for your love and generosity and being able to share this space with you. I am so excited. So my heart to yours. Thank you. So my name is Kristina Messenger. So I actually do have a message and I live in the great state of Texas. I think that probably in the future, I will live in a few other states too, but I am based in Texas.
I love that. I love that. What part of Texas are you in actually?
North Dallas. So we live about an hour north of Dallas on some acreage, and love the farm life, love being able to see the pond and the trees. I definitely need space, but we're outside of the city.
Okay, when you say that farm life, what exactly do you mean by that? Because I don't think they understand the level of the farm life.
Well, so about an hour and a half ago, I was hauling a goat to the vet, to a special vet. So yeah, so my husband and I very much believe that there's something to be learned when kids can learn about livestock. So we are the 4-H ag advisors on goats and lambs. We personally raise lambs for kids to be able to show, and also meat lambs, market lambs for our community. And yeah, so we have cows and lambs and donkeys and goats. My son, even though we raise lambs, he shows goats, and we have chickens. Yeah, it's a full ring farm life over here.
It's so weird to say that because like you don't look like where you live. Like when I picture that livestock lifestyle, I just don't really see Christina and Messenger. I don't know why.
I know. And I delivered the goat in this outfit. I changed shoes, but
You
so
delivered the goat in this outfit. Dead. Okay, perfect. So now that you know that Christina has a whole ass agriculture thing, let's talk about your actual expertise. Can you share with people what you do in not only in person, what you do for us as a family, and then also like in the online space? Please brag.
oh, you're so sweet. Well, I am a financial consultant, specializing in safe money strategies, which simply means that there's a lot of different ways that people can invest their monies. I happen to believe that for about 80% of our country, we're missing foundational building when it comes to wealth, and that are safe money strategies. So that's what I specialize in, as well as financial education, because unfortunately our schools do not teach it. I was a business consultant for about 10 years in professional, like big corporations, Fortune 100, prior to being a financial consultant, and then a business consultant personally, just for B2B businesses. And whether it was individuals who were in the corporate space or those that owned their own businesses making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, they were both underserved when it came to financial education. And so I think there's a lot of people in the financial space. I like to just say I'm a financial consultant that thinks outside of the box. I believe that you should know the plans to your financial future. We should build them, and we should start with the foundation.
Love this. If you agree, go ahead and throw hearts on this video. Okay, fully agree with this concept that there's a lack of financial education. I know that, by the time that I left high school, I had a basic understanding that If you wanted to not bounce a check, you keep money in your checking account. I knew how to balance a checkbook. I had very little credit, at age 18. And then I was kind of like encouraged to figure it out. So, how do you help people who they want to have an insanely profitable, wealthy, higher quality of life, but they learned really the basics?
Yeah. So I think that that there's so much to unpack on that. First of all, I think that like most people, you went through this epiphany that, oh crud, I really don't know how money works once I'm outside. And there's really two roads that people go in their 20s. They are the ones that when they go to the ball game and they go to the colleges, they're like, here, have a credit card, here, have a credit card. Those individuals become my client, at age 25, 30, and 35, where they find themselves so deeply in debt that they literally, the amount of debt that they're carrying, they feel is drowning them and suffocating them. They can't even think about saving because they just weren't educated and they took that path of not knowing, right? They didn't know what they didn't know when it came to how interest rates really work. So I help those individuals by really unwinding what they've done, and not from a perspective of a poverty mentality, but from an abundance mentality. How do we pay off this debt? And oh, by the way, at the same time, start our foundation. The
This
second,
makes you automatically so different. Like, oh, and hi, Haley. I see Haley in the chat. Like,
aw, hey, Haley.
immediately, this makes you so different because we definitely have the voices in the world that are like the debt snowball type of people that are like, just live on the bare flipping minimums, eat beans and rice, and sell all of your things so that you can get out of this quote unquote burden of debt. And while, yes, there are people that have paid off some debt by doing that, it's a really hard life.
It is.
It doesn't actually set you up for anything in the future. It just brings you out of the red. It never plans for a life later on. So tell me more about this whole concept of you're not just paying off debt, but you're setting something up for the future. Because
I think,
no one talks about this.
yeah, and I think what you just said, if I could scream anything when it comes to this from a mountaintop, my message would be there are people who went through that in their 20s and their 30s. And I used to teach those classes. So listen, I had to learn this myself.
The debt elimination.
There are people who went through this in their 20s and their 30s, and here they are in their 40s, and they're circling the mountain again when it comes to debt, or their 50s. And some of that is because when we go through a process of really honestly being shamed into thinking that every single penny that we're spending is not right, it creates a poverty mentality in us where we're not even able to allocate intelligently the money. So we have people who have incredible business ideas in their head, but they've been pounced on for having debt, so they won't activate on their business idea. Like, we as America, as a community, as a world, are missing out on some incredible entrepreneurs because they've been pounced on. Don't have debt, don't have debt, don't have debt. And I think that if we would stop and really start teaching money and wealth and debt at a principle level of, there's a time and purpose to have debt, there's a way to pay off debt. The one thing we can't get more of is time. So if you wait to pay off all your debt and then start saving, you're probably going to be dead, right? This is why so many people end up at age 65 dead broke, is because they were waiting to pay off everything. Well, they had kids, and then they had houses and mortgages and college, and then their kids had kids. And by the time they woke up in America, the average age to start saving is age 52. That is like, that makes me sick every time I say it, because I'm like, there could be a better way. What if we just started allocating $100, $200, $300 a month in our 20s? That turns into $1 million at age 65 if we start in our 20s. But there's just such a message out there of got to pay off your debt, got to pay off your debt. And then it creates shame and guilt, and they just circle the mountain round and round and round. So I abolished that thought process from the beginning. With my clients, I'm like, listen, yes, we're going to pay off debt, but we're going to attack debt from a different angle. We're also going to start saving now where we can. We're not going to live outside of your means, but we're going to reallocate where your money is going. We're going to make you actually look to see where your money is going. You mentioned, saving and getting credit cards. That's, I think, honestly, the reason why our country is in so much trouble is because, like, for me, I used to go to the bank, put money in the bank. I had a little register, right? I wrote down what my balance was. I didn't grow up with a debit card. And now they give us these debit cards. They don't even send registers to us. And so people literally use their phone to make a decision to purchase something or not. So when we're a
Literally.
distracted nation, and when we're distracted, then it keeps us in this constant chaos cycle, and distracted and chaos people are easy to manipulate. So if we just take control back and we teach you how to know where your money is going, not constrict it, just teach you to know that you're allocating it where it really wants to go, it makes all the difference in the world. We could change multi-generations if we just took that one principle.
So good. I forgot about that. When I said I know how to balance a checkbook, they don't really send you like a register or a balance thing.
Nope.
It's not even a thing. You just have a debit card. And so you open the app and say, I see $300 in there, or I see $3,000 in there. I can spend. And then you forget about the recurring dues. You forget about the automatic withdrawals. You forget about the thing that you bought 4 days ago that hasn't posted to the account yet. And now you're in trouble.
Yep.
Oh my
That's
God.
what
The
happens.
math ain't mathin', sister.
Nope. But that's exactly what happens.
This is so good. All right. So something that I want to like bring even full circle, because I can see in the chat already Sharana is saying like we're mid-30s and we're just figuring this out. What I want to say about your expertise is this. I definitely bought hardcore into the shame cycle of debt. I was somebody that I didn't really have another option. So I borrowed like $30,000 when I was in my early 20s so that I could get an education. And then it was programmed to me that like it's bad to have debt. So you need to like cancel that. And so you need to live way below your means, have a really like, I lived in the cheapest places. I slept in my car sometimes. I sold some of my favorite possessions because it was just this message of debt is so horrible. And so I made this like intentionality in my 20s that I was going to pay off all this debt. And it took me until probably like my early 30s to quote unquote pay it all off. But I had heard like you should have some money in savings and you should eradicate your debt. But nowhere in there except one person, I should say, no, two people ever told me that you should invest side by side.
Yep.
And the first person that told me was my grandpa. He told me you should open XYZ type of an investment. And it sounded so hard at that time because I was literally living where I was putting my groceries on a credit card. And I was like, where am I going to get an extra $200 a month to put in an investment, Grandpa? And in hindsight, when I think about the 20-year-old me and the 25-year-old me, I could find, $12 a day to go and buy a bottle of wine after work. I could find the money to go and buy a new dress at Forever 21. I could find the money to go to Target and buy new pillows for my apartment. And that could have easily been that $200 every month. And then the other part was I was already in debt anyways. So weirdly, and I think that this is counterintuitive and I'm not giving any financial advice, but hell, like why not use $200 of someone else's money to put in a compound interest investment? It probably would have done me better.
Right. Right.
Like, it was just no one was saying, hey, don't just think about this decade. Think about when you're 40, because you don't just want to be breaking even and debt free when you're 30 and 40. You want to have compounding stuff on the rise. And that's where you came in for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's like, again, that if I could scream it from the mountaintop, if I really had to think about the one thing that I wish changed for that from 15 to 30 that people really got was that message. Like, number one, if you're in debt, it's okay. Let's figure out how to get out of it. Like,
dude, no shame.
Not your fault. It's not your fault. There's a lack of education. There was a lack of education on my part, right? Like, you see things happen, you see like our next generation is really, they only see, for the most part, us using credit cards or debit cards, right? They only see plastic or Venmo or all these things. Like, we have to be intentional with that next generation and then teach them side by side. The other interesting thing that you said that I would love to comment on is that I think that student loan debt has become one of those things where people are almost, they feel shame by just having to say it. And it's like, listen, it is what it is. Let's turn it into something magical. Let's not allow what you got that degree in to sit on the shelf. Let's use the yes that you said to that, and let's turn that into something magical, right? Don't allow it to now be a block for you to create money because you feel so much shame around it. And that's what I actually see. I consult with still, a lot of small business owners, chiropractors, dentists, small practice doctors.
Oh, come on.
$300,000 worth of credit card debt. They can't run their practice because they're like, well, I feel like I have $300,000 worth of, I'm like, yes, and we're going to work on that, but you have a business to run now. Like, don't allow that to keep you from your future.
So good. So tell me about your experience in your industry. How did you get into what you do now? And for anyone who's watching who's not familiar, Kristina, she helps people with financial service products. So she helped our family to find the right investments that would compound quickly for us over time based on having started quote unquote late to the game. So Kristina was our person. She's helped us set up investments for myself, for my two babies, and just creating that legacy wealth pattern and letting our family become our family bank over time. So Kristina, how did you even get into this industry? Like, what's your background?
Yeah, so this is, God must have wanted me to do this because I got the experience, I would say, before I even said yes to the industry. I was in corporate America for 10 years as a business consultant to large hospital systems. They had 300 plus beds. Life was great. I was a six-figure income earner. I loved what I did. And when 29 years old, life forever changed, right? I was married, had two young small boys, and my husband was killed in a motorcycle accident. I traveled about 47 out of 52 weeks at that time. And although I took 3 months off, when I came back, I couldn't get on an airplane. Like I was done. I was done with that career, what I thought would be a lifelong career. I don't know if I would have ever in my wildest dreams, looking back and talking to my 20-year-old self, said, oh, you'll be an entrepreneur like that. I was a great corporate girl. Like I was awesome at being a corporate girl. But life changed. And so I had to figure out what to do. And I knew sales and I knew relationships. I'm definitely a relationship driven person. And so in my really small town, I just started asking, people about jobs. And I quickly got into granite sales. Within a year, I opened a granite company. And once in that granite company, I decided to invest 100%. So I joined a local association, our Dallas Builders Association. And I met a gentleman there who had no idea what my story was. He came up to me at a networking. This is now in 2010. And he says to me, so I see you're very well connected. You have a granite company. What if I could show you a way when you were in those homes that if one of those homeowners, husband or wife, did not come home, it would pay off their home and they would not have to move. He had no idea my story because just 6 years prior, that was my story, right? That's what my boys and I went through. And I said, if what you're telling me is true and it's legal, I will absolutely tell every one of my clients about this. And that financial product was called mortgage protection insurance. That was my introduction into the financial world. I had been prior to that teaching those debt constricting classes at my church. I had taught a different system. I had been doing that for about 10 years. I really had a heart to help people get out of debt. It was something that I already knew was in me, and I had done it myself. I had paid off $160,000 worth of business debt in about 21 months. And obviously that was not from constriction. That was from abundance mentality. Yeah. And so I already had this heart. And then getting into the financial industry through mortgage protection really allowed me to start to begin and understand what I was here on this earth to do. So did that for a few years while still operating a granite company. I also opened grief hits you in different ways. So, I realized a few years after my husband passed away in 2008, I realized I was like, oh yeah, I was a business consultant. My granite company was growing during that time. A lot of companies weren't. So I started consulting some small businesses. So when that happened, learning that one financial product, it kind of opened my eyes that there were some other financial products out there.
Okay. Hang
Yep.
on, hold the phone. So
Yep.
what you're saying is you're 29, you're married, you have 2 kids, the love of your life at that time goes on a motorcycle ride and
Around the block.
around the block and doesn't ever come home.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And everything changed.
And in grief, in doing what you've got to do as a woman, you start a granite company, you switch careers entirely, can't travel the way that you did before.
Mm-hmm.
You start this granite company, and a guy walks up to you at a networking event.
Yep.
And gives you that.
Yep.
That had to be like the most compelling like moment.
I've thought back. So I did what they say don't do, right? I made a major decision the first year after he passed away and opened a granite company, which I'm not saying will work for everybody. Thank God it worked for me. I did $1 million worth of sales the second year. Like it worked, right? I think if he would have came to me, if I would have met him that before then, like in the third year or the fourth year, I'm not sure I would have gotten the message. But because enough time had healed my heart, I didn't see it as a lost cause for what he was telling me. I saw it as an opportunity to help others.
And like the way that you handled this, I really see you as such a warrior. Like you had to step into this moment of, all right, I have to do something. I've got my
Mhm.
boys. I have to survive. I can't lose this house. I've got to do what I've got to do. So when someone 6 years later could say to you, what if you had a financial tool that if your partner didn't come home, you wouldn't have to pay bills?
Yep.
Like, I bet, like, for a second, that probably flashed for you, like, wow, that would have been nice to not have to go build $1 million granite company and to be able to grieve. Like, did any of that go through your head?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I will just the first 2 years of me selling this product, I had to tell my story, kind of like I tell my story about my son. I actually had to tell my story in third party when I would meet with somebody at their kitchen table. I would have to say, listen, I know you're in your 20s and your 30s, and this is the furthest thing from your mind, but can I tell you about somebody extremely close to me? I didn't say a friend. I just said someone extremely close to me because I am extremely close to me. And I had to tell the story in third person. 29 years old, everything was rocking and rolling, 2 kids, and then bam, life happened, right? And I would explain the story. So then after that, and they would, start there, I would always go back and I'd say, by the way, that was me. And then I would bawl, like just like I want to now, right? Because so many people, the GoFundMe's out there are ridiculous.
Girl.
They're just ridiculous. And it can be solved with some very simple, inexpensive financial tools that literally, like I tell people, less than 2 times through the Chick-fil-A drive-through or less than, 5 Starbucks a month, like we can protect your greatest assets.
Yep.
But nobody ever knocked on my door. There was no Zoom back then. There was no
Facebook Live.
yeah, there was no Facebook Live, right? So yeah, so now it's my message, which is,
It's so
it's needed.
interesting.
So needed.
It's so interesting to me because, like, as an entrepreneur, this is the pattern that I see. I see a lot of people who have been fed the debt message. And so, one of their most raging fires that they're trying to put out in their life is just to break even. So, if you're live right now, just hashtag the words break even so that I know that you're following what I'm saying. So it seems like in their 20s and 30s, people are just trying to hashtag break even and not have debt, right? And then for entrepreneurs, they want to just break even and get profit. So there's another hashtag break even. Like they're just in the break even philosophy. And the strange thing is, no one is ever really asking, like, okay, you got this business, you're doing the social media, you're growing your brand, you're hiring people, you're growing a team, you're showing up for your job every day, you're crushing it to the best of your ability. And also, happens what happens to this whole company, your house, your kids, and everything that you're working so hard for if you perchance get hit by a bus?
Yep.
No one is saying that.
Or so then fast forward. So I did, sold and helped families with mortgage protection. And then 2015, I'd helped people get out of debt and think abundance. And then they had money and they were ready to invest, right? So this is when I now transitioned into more financial products. But the or to this is, what if you don't get hit by a bus, but you're running this company and you have a heart attack, stroke,
Oh, come on.
cancer, one of those other things that pops up. That was what in what I've done now for the last 8 years in the financial services, helping people with living benefits and tax-free retirement accounts. The other or is, you don't want to lose everything you've just worked 5 or 10 years for. And there's a very simple financial product that's available that sends you money to keep your business running, keep your household running, and so it's not even being hit by a bus. Like there's an or, and then the other or is you put 30 years into your business and then you look up and you're like, oh, maybe I should have saved. Yeah. Or we just start saving, right? So for me, it's like, it's all, and business owners, honestly, like what keeps me up at night, is thinking to myself, I know that for not a whole lot of investment, that the business owners that are giving their heart and soul into our communities, into our states, into our country, could literally be setting themselves up for a healthy, nice retirement, or, not have to work as hard as they are right now in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. But because of this poverty mentality, because of the lack of education, there's somebody falling through the cracks that I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is this landing for any of you guys? Like, is any of this like, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that. I'm working so hard to just not be in debt that, what would happen to my family and all my stuff if I something happened to me? Or what happens if the main breadwinner in your home, if something happens to them? Do you lose the house? Like what happens? So as an entrepreneur, we knew pretty basic, like when Sloane was born, that we had to have some level of just insurance. Like that was one financial thing, was just like a death benefit type of insurance to take care of our kids if anything happened to us. That was one piece. But Kristina brings such a different perspective to all of this, because the other side of this is enjoying an investment while you're alive. Because, like what Kristina said, what if you work really hard and you put money into an investment? One day you're going to look up and money's going to be there. It's called a retirement account. Stuff that's been compounding for years and years and years. The other cool thing about the specific financial product that she set me up with is that we're putting money into an investment right now, and it becomes generational wealth and like a family bank. Because although I'm putting money into it, if I want to borrow money out from my own investment, it still grows as if all the money that I borrowed out was still in the investment. I've never heard of an investment like this. So this is just one of the pieces of what Kristina does that really hit me. We're able to put money into an investment right now that as we build our house, we can pull money out, build our house with it, pay it back in our own timing, and the investment is still compounding as if we never borrowed against it. Like, is that not insane?
Yep. And the sad part is only 5% of America knows about that tool.
People don't know about it. They think it's like not real.
No idea. It used to be, it was quite honestly, it was a secret. Like the wealthy have known about it for ever, almost 100 years, actually.
Yes.
But it's a secret because remember what I said earlier, the debt cycle has us in shame and chaos, and it keeps us distracted. And so my mission is to really wake people up with financial education and to really move them from impossible to possible, and then from possible to probable, and then to like success of they have a retirement account and they are building generational wealth. And we are changing families one family at a time using very simple financial tools and products that don't break the bank, that don't leave you confused, that if we'll just start, I mean, that's the thing.
So you became someone who's really well versed in a lot of different types of financial services and financial products.
Mhm.
What does it look like today? Because I'm sure there's going to be people that watch this that are in the like I'm just paying off debt mode.
Yeah.
And then there's people that want to learn financial literacy, and then there's people who are like, no, help me get signed up now. So where do those people go within like your space?
Yes, so I service all of those, right? I say that I service from paying off the debt to starting saving the first dollar, to I even save 401k plans and IRAs. I roll over millions at a time to help protect family legacies, what you've worked so hard for.
You said you save 401ks.
I
Can you
do.
expound on that?
Yes, I save 401ks from becoming 201ks. Again, it's this thought process that there's only one way to save, right? So most of us, not being educated in the financial world, we just know of IRAs or 401ks.
Mhm.
And there's actually some other products out there that can protect the principal that you have saved. The one thing as financial consultants, analysts right now, we agree on is that the market is up and down and all over the place, right? It used to be for every 10 years, 7 of those years, the market went up, 3 years, the market went down. Most people were okay with that. The problem has been in the last 20 years, those up and downs have been so dramatic, right? There's been so many resets. And so many people that planned on retiring, for example, in 2020, that have had to push it to 2028, 2030, 2032. And so when I say that I save those, I sit down with individuals and I'm like, listen, I'm not anti-stock market. There is a time and a place for your money to be in the stock market.
Yep.
But the eggs that you don't want to lose, the ones you don't want broken, the ones that are going to keep you on track to retire at the age that you want to, we have a financial, product that we can roll over, just like changing banks from Chase to Bank of America. We roll over into this safe money strategy where now we really can predict and tell you with great confidence, this is how much money you're going to have at retirement. It's not like, oh, I hope the market doesn't go down before I retire. I mean,
Girl.
the people in 2008 or 12 or 15 or 19 or 22, that they were ready to retire, and then bam, overnight, 20, 30, 40, 50% of their whole life savings was gone.
I watched this with, I'm not going to name names, but I watched this with one of my parents overnight, 30 grand. That was like 30% of their retirement. It was just gone. Like the S&P 500 and their mutual fund just like tanked overnight. And I was like, what do you mean? It was just gone.
It's sickening. So so I save them. I rescue them. I'm a rescuer.
You rescue them.
We move them over. We grow the heck out of them. We create personal pension plans. Like our grandparents had pensions. That's why the world is a lot different too, because our age, our grandparents had pensions, and those pensions paid out until they passed away.
Yeah.
Us now in the middle class, for the most part, we have a 401k. And then somebody had the idea, the government, of saying, oh, we won't tax you on that 401k until you take the money out. So now you're at the highest tax bracket possible when you go to retire. You have no kids, you have virtually any write-offs. So
Those motherfuckers.
that $1 million becomes about $600,000. And then because, we had all the financial sense in the world and all the education growing up, they give us 100% access to it. So in the United States, on average, a 401k lasts a retired person 7 years, because we've worked so hard and we're like, oh, now it's time to buy the boat and buy the motorhome and take the kids to Disney World. In 7 years, our retirements on average are gone. And now they're taking the teenagers' jobs at Walmart and at the Sonic because they've run out of money. So I also help them roll those into where they can create their own pensions and never run out of money. Because that's our number one fear actually in the United States, is that we're going to run out of money before we pass away.
Oh my gosh. And it happens all the time.
All the time.
see like elderly people out working. I'm like, you are not supposed to be working right now, but okay, cool.
Yep.
Man. What's if someone just wants to learn about financial literacy, tell us about your Money 101. And
Yeah.
I'll
So I,
tell us
yeah.
about other places.
Yeah, so I teach a class called Money 101. That's for men and women, business owners, everyone. I'm sure we can drop my link or something. So I teach that. I also teach I love educating women. I have a heart and a passion for women. I just feel like yes, the middle class is underserved, but as women, we're even further understood. We're breaking out, whether we recognize that we've had generational financial wealth curses on us or not, we do. Some of us even more so depending on like our heritage, right? So I think that for me, women specifically is a huge part of why I'm here on earth. And so I facilitate something called Wine Women in Wealth. If you don't
Oh,
drink wine, I drink whiskey, but it's not whiskey women in wealth. But anyway,
that
but
would be so on brand.
I know, right? So anyway, but I facilitate those all over and love coming into different communities and really helping your community, right? Well, the one thing that I believe in is that yes, I'm here to serve a purpose and to bring people to this knowledge, but I also believe part of my purpose on earth is to go to communities where I may know one person, but that person has influence in a community that can change that community.
Yes.
So I will travel to those communities to host these events because it's not about necessarily me changing the world. Like I'm not a me person. I'm about like, let's each in our communities change our communities. And that's how we'll change the world. And so, yeah, Wine Women of Wealth. I also do a Mommy, Money, and Me. I do a business boot camp. Business boot camp is behind Wine Women of Wealth. Business boot camp is my most favorite, bringing small businesses together and giving them the resources of a CPA and an attorney and myself. And like, let's just set this up right from the beginning. Even if you're 10 years in business, let's push the reset button and let's protect your family, your business. Let's make sure you're getting all the write-offs that you should, so we can go to Bora Bora more often. Let's pay our kids and utilize that IRS tax code and make sure that
Doing
we're,
it.
yes, yes,
Can I,
yes, yes, yes.
can I just tell the people of internet, like, okay, when Kristina started helping us set up our investments, what some people don't realize is if you are incorporated, you've got an LLC, you have an actual corporation of some sort. One of the tax benefits that you can utilize is if you've got kids, you can pay your kids up to, is it $12,000 a year tax free? I'm trying to remember what the number is.
Yeah, 12,400.
Okay, so
They
12.
have to work. Yours are brand agents. They have to work. You can't just give them money.
Yeah. So what we did is our kids are part of our branding shoots. They're part of video. They're part of a lot of different things. And I use my birth story as part of my marketing all the time. So basically, we pay our kids. It's a $12,400 tax write-off to our company. We pay our children tax free, and then that money goes into their investment accounts so that every year they're getting paid and that money is accruing for them. And by the time that they're in their mid 30s, they're going to be really wealthy little human beings. And of course, we'll be guiding them on how to be good stewards of that. But like, imagine if right now you had a tax-free way to pay your kids to put money in investments for them so that when it's time for them to have their first car, when it's time for them to have a wedding, when it's time for them to graduate, when it's time for perhaps they want to go to a trade school or go to a college, when it's time for them to maybe start a business, you've got capital just sitting there that you can invest in your kids because it's
Absolutely.
been growing for years and compounding and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, can you imagine? So that's what we did.
Yeah, that is so exciting. And again, that goes back to like, that's how we change the next generation. That's what we can do to change
Yes.
what we've walked through.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm kind of in my little soapbox right now, but I just think that it's such a fake matrix of wealth in the United States that, for me personally, we just bought our first real property. I'm 38 And I made a whole post about it. Like, I should be so proud. Like, I should have been so excited. And honestly, I've been traversing grief. Like, I've been sad. I've been sad that it took me 20 years of hustling in the fake wealth matrix just to do basic things like build a business and keep my family fed and keep a roof over our heads and buy cars and stuff. And I just think, like, ideally, this is not what I want my daughters to go through. I want them to be able to do something worthwhile with their lives from a really landed nervous system and not always afraid of debt or lack or scarcity. And I just know that the things that I'm doing today are going to set my kids up for such a different experience of life than what I had. And I'm really proud of that. Like, I'm proud to be able to do that. But let's
I'm
talk.
proud of you. I'm proud of you because most people will sit around and shit all over themselves. They'll be like, I should do this, I should do something different. And the fact of the matter is you can. Like, you can. It doesn't have to be 12,000 a year. It can be $50 a month. Like, you
Okay,
can make
let's talk about the millionaire pastor guy, because you had helped a
it.
family start with just the tiniest little amount a month, and then it turned into something crazy. Because I think people think, well, it's going to be so expensive, but it's not expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk
So
about
it's actually, it was our CEO's client. So, he was the second client he had ever had. And he's my mentor in this business, been in business 40 years. And so his second client ever, about 8 years ago, called our, home office and said, was basically telling a story that the pastor, who had never made more than 50,000 a year, who had never contributed more than $200 a month to their account, was giving a sermon on how tiny little threads, of information that you apply can change your life. And she was calling in because their account had just gone over $1 million. So a pastor, 3 kids, never made more than 50,000 a month, never contributed $200. I mean, 50,000 a year, contributed $200 a month. Plus, pastors sometimes get, like pastor appreciation gifts or Christmas gifts. They would put that in there. But I'm
that.
not talking about any other like huge chunks, right? There was no match. The church did not match that $200 a month. 30 years had gone over $1 million. And the cool part is those 3 kids that watch that are now adults are started out doing 200 a month in their 20s. So like that whole lineage now forever will be changed, right? And that is true. Like, so many people are like, when I get around to saving, right? I wish I could. And it's like, no, you can. Like, quit saying you could, and you can. And I actually had a client, I will never forget this. I don't tell this story a whole lot because for me, it's kind of emotional, right? And some stories just hit you differently, but she, both of her parents had passed away when she was in her 20s.
Mm.
They didn't leave behind anything except for a pile of debt for her to figure out and traverse in her 20s. She met me, and about 7 years ago, was right when I had first started doing these tax-free retirement accounts. She had been referred to me to get out of debt, actually, is what she'd been referred to me for. So I helped her with that. And I said to her, I said, listen, there's another financial product that I know right now you feel like you can't even breathe because of the amount of debt in this house and everything that has happened with your parents. But I believe that if you could just reallocate $100 a month right now, like, this will be the first start to your new life, because it's just you. Like, she wasn't married yet. She had no kids yet, but and her whole family that she was here on earth with was gone. Right.
Wow.
And she just started bawling, and she was like, no, I think you're right. And she's like, and I don't have the $100. She's like, but you know what I do have? She's like, I have blood in my veins, and somebody will pay me for that. And I'm going to change my life using the blood that my parents gave me. And that story has forever stuck with me, because some people get it. They're going to do whatever it takes. $100 a month, right? It's been incredible to watch her this last 7 years and what she's been able to do, and the money she's been able to amass. But we started with $100 a month. And her life will be forever changed. And I'm forever changed for what she said, because it is true. Like, we have oxygen and we're still here. We can do something.
Girl.
So
People can start investing with like $50 a month, $60 a month, $200 a month. And their whole life trajectory, their family can be, in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, so different.
Yep.
So different.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like the Target trip.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
monthly Target trip. It's a monthly
Yep.
dinner out.
Starbucks, Chick-fil-A. Most of my clients' money is in Uber Eats, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A.
That's so good. Okay. If people actually want to be one of your clients, like what do they do? Because I know you're my friend. I got your phone number. I know what to do.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
what should
will
people do if they want to?
I can drop in the comments. I can drop my link, schedule a free 15-minute appointment. They can schedule a phone call, a Zoom. If they're here in the Texas area, we can meet for coffee. Yeah, I do a lot of Zoom appointments. So I work nationwide. I have a lot of people reach out to me from Canada at this minute, unless you have a business in Canada or something. But I do have a lot of people that reach out to me from Canada. And unfortunately, right this second, I can help you on the debt side, but not on one of these financial products. But every state and Puerto Rico, I can.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that's the tea on my friend Kristina. She's the person who's been helping us get our feet into, investing. Someone else had helped to actually set up my first, like, quote unquote, life insurance account. And I mean, good on them that they helped me set it up, but I didn't know half of what I know because of Kristina just taking time on a Zoom and educating me and helping me to see. And I ended up investing a crap ton more because I could see the power of it. When Kristina said, this pastor, they put in XYZ amount and then 30 years later they had $1 million. There's such a thing called $1 million baby accounts where you can start investments for your kids when they're babies. And then, if it grows as planned, as most do, you got a millionaire in their, early life. These kids, they're gonna be adult millionaires and have a very different experience than what perhaps you and I had. And I did it for my kids.
Yep.
Not a lot of money. So that being said, can we also talk about locked and loaded? Because
Oh,
you,
my favorite
one of
space.
you are, Christine has been in my mastermind for female entrepreneurs. It's called Locked and Loaded. It's a 12-month mastermind. It's currently enrolling. There's only 6 spots left. There's a lot of people talking about grabbing those 6 spots in the next couple days. Christina, why did you join Locked and Loaded?
Oh, this is an emotional answer. So I know that I have a message inside of me. And I know there are more people that I am meant to help get out of debt and build financial foundations and really break the bondage of what they believe about wealth and money, and really help create families that create that generational wealth. But I only know what I know when it comes to building traditional businesses. My granite company was a traditional brick and mortar business. I built houses and flipped houses. That was traditional, like right here in my community, right? The insurance financial world, for the most part, I work for a brick and mortar company. I mean, I have an office in McKinney, Texas, like that, a physical office, right? And I knew that in order for me to really live out why I was here, my yes for being on earth, that I needed Locked and Loaded and Kristina and all of the information, the teachings, the trainings, the side-by-sides that you teach. I had maybe done a few of your classes prior to that. And I was pretty intimidated by realizing, wow, I'm making right at 6 figures. And I don't have a clue as to what the heck she just said when it came to the internet world, but I know that I need to learn it. Like, I mean, none of it. I knew none of it. And so I joined because I didn't want to be in my 60s and my 70s and look back and go, yeah, I helped my community, but I really could have helped a community in every state if I would have just taken that, been in part of Locked and Loaded and learned a new skill set that I didn't know. I didn't want to have that thought process of, I really somebody has what I want, but I'm too scared to either invest in myself, or I'm too scared to say that I need help, or I'm too scared to raise my hand and be like, okay, humble pie over here, please tell me how to make a reel, because I am real confused. So that's why I joined. It's literally is for me, Locked and Loaded is my training ground to live out my highest and best purpose of why I'm here. So that's why I'm in here too, because I ain't going away, because I'm still learning.
It's so amazing to see. Um, I think there's a misnomer when people see me talk about Locked and Loaded, they think that I only coach coaches. And when you look at who actually makes up the space, it's like probably 70% of the people who come to me are some kind of a coach, consultant, or advisor. But a good 30% of people are doctors, people in construction, people with brick and mortar, people that actually have like a business, but they're missing the whole online impact side of it. And they're missing tons of people that need what they have. Case in point, I'm hearing Sarah Lambright in the chat. She's saying like, oh my God, where has this information been? Like,
Mhm.
dang, like all caps, dang. And that's the power of taking what you know and taking your business into a bigger conversation online. So I'm so happy you were a yes for that. Thank you. Oh my God. Um, Question about being in Locked and Loaded. What has the impact been on you and on your business? Because this is year 2 for you.
This is year 2. So I mentioned I buried a husband at 29. I also buried my special needs son almost 8 years ago. It'll be 8 years ago next month. I love what I do. I have a passion for it, but I didn't recognize prior to Locked and Loaded how much I keep those stories to myself. I'll skim them, but I wasn't using really the pain that I'd gone through. I wasn't using it for a true purpose. And what it's done is really teaching me skill level wise to lock into the emotional intelligence and feel that, and learn learn how to heal on the right side of that trauma, and then learn how to utilize without bringing other people through their trauma, right? I don't need to attract more trauma, but I do need to connect with you heart to heart, emotional to emotional. And so that was I had protected it so much that I didn't know how to traverse that. And so that skill, right, of learning the emotional intelligence of stories and connection.
Yes.
I don't know. I've said this to you before, but just so everybody is aware, I don't know of anyone else on this earth that is teaching it the way that you're teaching it, that you can learn it and then integrate it and activate on it immediately and see real life time the difference that it makes.
Girl, I lovingly joke that when people hire me as a mentor or they join Locked and Loaded, it's like they're getting the best of 100 brains.
Yeah.
Because I think when I say the word, $300,000 in self-development, I think it just people's brain just melts because like that number is such a weird number. But when I put it into real context, in the last, recent past, we decided to forego building our house and we decided to forego some other things.
Mhm.
And instead, we went the legacy route. We invested for our future, we invested for our kids, and we invested in my brain. So instead of building a house, we spent $300,000 for me to study with the greatest minds in sales and business of our modern time.
Yeah.
And it's like when people decide to do Locked and Loaded, it's like you are hiring like 100 of the greatest brains. I've worked with 70, 75 plus of the biggest names in media prior to starting my business, and then over 35 living mentors, not to mention all the dead mentors who are in my ears constantly, like Bob Proctor, etc. But it's just like there's so much that I'm able to give inside of the space, and it's amazing to watch people just get it in real time and then go put it in play in the business immediately. It's so freaking fun.
Yeah. It's my favorite.
It's your favorite.
And I think that's important, right? Like, I'll just say this. I've had mentors, since my 20s. I've invested in personal development since my 20s. I categorize yours a little bit differently. Yes, there is a personal development level, but this is actually trifold for me. You're investing in yourself with Locked and Loaded personally, like what you're personal going to get out of it that's the personal development side, if you will. But you're also investing in business mentorship. And there is a difference between personal development and business mentorship. And if you've never invested in business mentorship, it could be why you need to be locked and loaded, because it's different than personal development. It's the activation. It's the real-time tweaks. It's the real-time, like being able to show up and say, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? No, because here's why I got stuck, right? Like the business mentorship. And then the third part that you offer that's totally unique is the energetic side of it, right? Because typically, again, if you're going to have an energetics coach, you have an energetics coach, but they don't have business mentorship. And they usually, if they're a business mentorship, they don't have personal development. So Locked and Loaded for me is the three-legged stool that, like, I don't need 1,500 people anymore. Now I'm going to keep my dead mentors because I really like them, but all my live ones, I don't need 3 different mentors anymore. You're like all of them in one. And so I don't know, that's very unique. I don't know if you know that, but you're my unicorn mentor.
I decided that I'm like the breakthrough goddess. That's the thing.
Oh, I love that.
I'm the breakthrough goddess. That's what we're gonna call it from here forward. Because it's like, you need a breakthrough in this, we got you. You need a breakthrough in business, we got you. You need some energetics, we got you. You need some strategy, we got you. You need some content, we got you. I'm just the breakthrough goddess.
Hashtag, I love it.
I gotta ask about like the trajectory shift financially. Any financial wins that you want to mention, or any skill wins that you want to mention since joining Locked and Loaded? And I know a lot of people are private about their cash, so no pressure.
Yeah, I would just say, I don't know, going from like the basic 6 figures to over $250,000 a year. I mean, it's, it just,
Oh, wait, it froze. Can you say that again?
did I really?
Yeah, could you say to my good ear?
Yeah, from the basic I call it the basic 6 figures. I think there's so many people out there that are like, oh, I'm 6 figures. I'm like, yeah, I was basic. I was like right at the 6-figure level to cross in last year, and doing it again more than that this year, over $250,000. So
We more than doubled the revenue.
yeah.
Yes. Amazing. I love that for you. If you're watching live, throw her some love in the chat. You got to throw her some love in the chat. And also, I'm pulling up questions because I always give myself prompts. If I'm not looking at you, I have to like just double, triple check. You were a featured speaker on our expert panel at Clear to Soar. What was that experience like for you?
Well, number one, it's very honoring. I think that what you have created it's just special. It's really special to me because it's a very safe place. All of your spaces are a very safe place. So it didn't matter what level any of us were on in that room. We all came together and just really took from it what we were meant to get. And so the actual space itself and what you created is something that, as I've shared with many people and shared on my own Facebook, is something you won't find anywhere else. From a participant standpoint, I will say that, and which is why I was like, are you sure you're not going to have another one? It's something that everybody should have access to. It's something that allowed me the space and the time to really recognize the pieces that were missing for what my next is, right? From a speaker standpoint and sharing the stage, there is nothing that brings me more joy than to be able to provide this education and to be able to connect with humans. I'm still a belly to belly, person to person. So being in a live room live lights me up. And so I'm just very honored and very thankful to have been a part of that, and to know that even if somebody never does business with me, that seed got planted. Maybe they find or know somebody in their own community, which is great. I just, knowing that that person now has a little bit more education and could change their 200-year trajectory of their wealth plan for their family, it was hugely honoring and fills my cup all the way up.
Girl, you crushed it. Like watching you on stage talking about your passion, it was just amazing. It was amazing to see the possibilities. It was amazing to see the success stories of people who have invested the way that you showed us how to invest. It's like this is one of those things that I just want the whole world to know about because I don't think people realize that what you do even like exists. They know about 401ks, they know about the S&P 500, they know about maybe a mutual fund, they know about stuffing money in a coffee can in their garage. That's what they know about.
Yep.
And it's like there's a whole other world, and you make it so freaking simple. I love that. I love that.
That's how I feel about you with Reels.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Question for you about Locked and Loaded, because I know that we've got 6 spaces left to come and hang out with me and all my biz besties for the next year. If there's someone who is teetering on the edge of whether they're going to join Locked and Loaded Mastermind or join the Vault or something like that, what would you say to the person that's kind of on the edge?
Yeah, I would say believe enough in yourself to make the hell yes decision, because what you will get out of that in actual application will be 10 times or 100 times, depending on your application, the investment that you make. And I think that I am willing to share belief, as well as the other women that are in that vault, in that space, to lend belief to you if you don't have it, that when you say yes to Locked and Loaded, you're really saying, as I mentioned, yes to that 3-legged stool of you're going to get your personal development, you're going to get your business mentorship, and you're going to get to learn about energetics and all of the sales frequency that comes along with that emotional frequency that comes along with it. And any hesitation that you have can be found in that 3-legged stool. Like all the answers are there, and you just have to say yes and then apply, right? Just yes. And I can't believe there's 6 spaces left. I just have to be honest. Like,
here's the real deal.
Like, I can't, I'm like, are you sure? Have you checked? Did you get any dings while we were here? Like, it's shocking to me that there's 6 spaces left.
Yeah, there's 6, and there's like about 8 people in the inbox who are like, I'm signing up for financing. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it. It's like, okay, then do it, because
Yeah, and this is good debt, by the way. If you're signing up
Yeah.
for financing, this is good debt. This is where you're investing in yourself, right? Corporations do this all the time.
Girl, come on, talk about
I
it.
hate to get on my soapbox about this, but again, if I could shout it from a mountaintop, right? So much shame, and oh, you're a small business owner and you have debt. Yeah, and so does the company that has your phone, so does McDonald's and Starbucks and every place else that you shop from, that you idolize. They have business debt. Why should you be any different? Oh, this is a huge soapbox of mine. Now, yes, you should also get an LLC and set yourself up. Don't just be operating off of a piece of paper, right? Don't do that. Be a corporation, be your business, and go get the education that you need to be the brand, so that you can be the professional that you say you are. Amateurs in this business will keep playing around with Locked and Loaded. Professionals, if you're a professional in your business, you will join. You won't be waiting around for one of those spots. You'll just join, because you're like, no, I'm here for a mission. I know what I'm supposed to do on this earth. I just need this, or this. Join, be a professional, get the debt, pay the debt off, and go help your community with your product or your service.
Amen, girl.
Sorry.
Amen.
That whole business debt thing just
Same soapbox. Same soapbox. Tell us what's coming up next in your world. Obviously, people know Locked and Loaded. That's the active launch for us. Team, go ahead and drop, if you guys can drop the Locked and Loaded link so people can get a frame of reference to what I'm even talking about. It's a 12-month long mastermind. It's enrolling now. Kristina, what have you got coming up in your world?
More classes. Just got back from Colorado and Wyoming. So going to be going up to Kansas and Minnesota, and over to Georgia some more. So yeah, so I definitely have that. I also have a passion for one of the things I recognize when people's money is out Typically their life is out of order too. And when my son was placed on hospice back in 2013, as a business owner at that time, running 4 different businesses, everybody talks about setting goals. And I was like, okay, well, I can't plan for tomorrow because he's just been placed on hospice and they say he's going to live 3 months. And how can I be planning my next year's goals? And so I came across a book called The 12-Week Year during that time. And I did it for myself. I implemented the book and the practice of setting goals every 12 weeks because I couldn't see a whole year down the road because of the situation I was in. And what happened for me is that I also knew other moms that were kiddos were on hospice at that same time. And so I, like many of us, right, we kind of congregate together with whatever's going on. And so I was reading this book. I shared it with those moms. 3 of those moms were like, hey, could we meet every week and you help us with this because you're a business consultant? And so that actually created a mastermind that for many, many years, like 5 or 6 years, no one even knew that I had, but the class was always full. And about 2 years ago, I really intentionally opened a second space. So I teach 2 masterminds every week. They're 12 weeks long, and it's based around the 12-week year. Get more done in 12 weeks than you can do in 12 months. Become laser focused on what's really important to you, move the needle forward in your life. And so that space for me will be opening up actually on Sunday of this week for the next quarter. So there's only about 4 spots left. People have a tendency to stick with me in that. I opened a second class thinking, oh, this will be great. I'll have a second class. I can help more people. And they sold, like, that filled up. And so it's a really special space because I think that most of us want to get a lot done here on earth. And it's a time management thing, and time management and money go hand in hand. If one is out of control, the other is out of control. And so for me in my life, my pillars of why I'm here, definitely helping people get time management right is something I feel very called to do. So I only have 2 of those. Once they're filled, because 80% of my time is in the financial consulting world. But it does keep me on track. So I'll never give them up because I love those masterminds. So that's the other thing. So they can find that.
Oh, good. I love it. If any of you want that, just comment 12-week year and Kristina will circle back and make sure that you get the link. And then, Kristina, how can they contact you if they would like a 15-minute Zoom or a financial consult? Like, what do they do?
Yep, I'm going to drop my Calendly link in there and my email as well. They just literally go on, find a 15-minute spot that works for you. And I work some nights and weekends as well during the day, and you can connect. So just book for whatever time works best for you. I love Calendly, a system that I learned.
A system that you learn. That's one of our first things. Set up your appointments. I love it. All right, lady. I have so appreciated having this time together with you. I feel like we're 3 episodes in of our Oprah series, the Biz Baddies. I got to interview my friend and share her amazing gifts with you guys. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for just taking the space.
Oh, thank you for this vision. Thank you for acting on this vision. None of this would have ever happened had you not said yes to yourself, like the ladies that are joining Locked and Loaded need to say to themselves. And that's all it takes, is simply saying yes. So thank you for your heart and your passion for people and connection. And I love you. And I'm waiting to hear when Claire to Soar will come out again.
Oh my God. So what's in the middle is we're pitching for our reality show. So actually leaving out of here, I have to put together some voice memo stuff for our pitch. We're having it's like a 2-minute pitch that gets put together, and then a first episode, and we're going to start pitching that. And if it gets picked up, I think it could be cool if part of the network, like developing our show, could be that we do like maybe a 6-city tour, like start in Orlando, do Miami, do Atlanta, do Nashville, maybe something on the East Coast, Detroit, maybe Austin, Los Angeles, just hit like major cities and do a 1-day long transformational event, just the best pieces of Clear to Soar, and just film it all, watch people's stories. We'll see.
Love it.
We'll see what happens. There might be another conference, but I'm not planning it. That's my deal with God. I'm not planning it. Someone else can produce this thing. All right. Love you guys.
Love you. Thank you.
Yes. Bye, girl. Bye,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Bye.